Hello, welcome along. We're in Uxbridge, just starting out VR Race 4.2, the preview, and you can see it's a downhill start past a little bit of artwork on the wall there that I'd never even noticed till I started editing this video. Down to the roundabout here, we're going to swing left, and we're basically using one of those roads that they built to take people out of the town centre. So this is one of those little through routes where the high street is just up on our left, but as you can see we've slightly gone downhill, so we're going to have to go back up again to the level of the high street very shortly. But for the moment we go along this, which is essentially a river valley, and it's flat for the moment, and as you can see this is the back end of all the shopping centres with the car parks on your left. Nothing too interesting or exciting recent modern developments, by which I mean anything in the last 20 years. Although the building on our left is the old post office, which has been converted into something nice, and that little road up there actually has been preserved. It's got preservation order on it, and it's quite old. But apart from that, as you can see, just lots and lots of newish buildings, all replacing what used to be there once upon a time. So this is where we suddenly start going up a little bit. So it's down along there, and this is a very gradual climb. It's not going to I don't think it's going to trouble anybody. If you've got off to a slow start and everybody else is ahead of you, this is probably not the place you're going to catch them. But I don't think this particular climb is going to be decisive in any way over this race. Now this race is 15.1 kilometres long. That's about a kilometre shorter than normal. There's no particular reason other than the way the roads worked out. It was a kilometre short, and I didn't really see much point in sort of weaving about somewhere to add a kilometre on. I don't think this race is going to be anything that dictates a series. I think it will be a bunch sprint finish, so everybody's in with a shout, and if you get your sprint right you can score points. Now we're sort of almost at the top of the reclimb, and the road on the left is the high street I was telling you about, which is really reserved for buses and things like that these days, and pedestrians. I suppose a little bit more climb just up to this next roundabout, and then it goes flat for a while. Now I'm not saying there's no undulations in this race, but I don't think there's any of those sort of climbs that is going to split the pack necessarily or dictate the race. What it will do, and we've seen this before in West London VR racing, is that it quite often sheds a couple of people off the back, so it thins the pack at the front. But the main players will, I think, all last to the finishing line and battle it out. Now, of course, we quite like people getting dropped out of the main bunch so that we get a second sprint, and a bit unfortunate with the pothole there as the camera angle slightly changed. We better put that right very shortly, otherwise you're not going to get much of a skyline on this. As I say, just a couple of potholes here and there along this road. Again, this is one of these little roads that's there we are, there's the camera angle back for you. This is one of these roads they built sort of in I say more recent times. There was always a road here, but they've kind of ensured that it kind of works to steer the traffic in and out of Uxbridge, and this links the town centre with the main A40, which we're going to cross very shortly when we get to the end of this. But looking at the terrain from a West London VR race point of view, very flat here, so it's going to be fast and furious as we like it. And you know, for those that perhaps like a challenge, you know, just staying with the pack can be so rewarding, because if you can get round, you're in with a chance at the sprint at the end, and you can get a very good position as long as you stay in. I certainly know of a few riders, including myself, who the challenge is to see if I can stay with the peloton rather than beat it in the sprint, but I rarely make it all the way to the finish, but there we are. So you can say this is Uxbridge Common here. We're still in Uxbridge, we haven't left at all, but we will shortly as we cross the A40 go into Ickenham, which I think still has Uxbridge written in its address, so take that whichever way you want. Again, as you can see straight here, we are heading up towards the A40. We go across the roundabout, and that's when we get a couple of small undulations there. You'll see just after we cross the roundabout, you'll see that there's a dip that rises again, followed by another dip. If anybody gets caught out on that, then I think they might get dropped, so beware of that. My other thought on that, though, is that because the little bit of climbing you have to do comes out of a descent, that you should have enough momentum not to be too caught out going up the other side. Anyway, more of that in a moment, because we're nearly at the A40 roundabout crossing. So the traffic lights before that, and the traffic, of course. I came along here later this morning and had no stops at all, but I think here not only did I get a red traffic light, but you'll see just ahead of us is the roundabout. Oh no, it changed screen fairly quickly, but I slowed down nevertheless. And we're just coming up to the roundabout, which is the A40 junction. I got a little bit stuck here on this occasion, of course came back later and just flew around the roundabout at full pace without having to stop. So of course, you know, it only plays up when you're filming it, not when you're riding alone. So a bit of editing there, and we're on the roundabout now, being nicely cut up on the inside by an impatient driver. So now we cross over. Now, as we get over here, very shortly, you get the little dip and an immediate rise, and I think that the momentum from the dip will carry you up the rise, and I can't see anybody particularly getting dropped on this particular dip. I mean, it's not difficult to cycle in real life because of the momentum one can get on the dip. You can see the dip just about starting now. You can see the cars sort of dropping down a little bit there, and you can see the traffic coming the other way that is in that dip. So here we go, screaming down the dip, and you can see it going up the other side. Nothing particularly big, not particularly steep, and you'll have speed anyway. So here we go on the up bit. Nothing to worry about. You'll all be in the peloton. Maybe not me, but here we are. Okay, we're at the top of this. We're going to go across the roundabout, and then we do another dip. So if you are, I've seen people break away on descents. The next descent will be steeper than anything we've done so far. So it might be an opportunity, if you can maybe get a little group of you off the front, just to whittle down the peloton. But I think you'll have to be quick and savvy about that. So as I say, we go across this roundabout, and that's when the dip sort of starts. You can see it's even on the roundabout. The sharp bit comes just in a second, just as we pass these cars. You see the white car coming over the top there. It's a taxi, in fact, isn't it? And this is when the speedy bit of the dip starts. Now we're going to hang a left at this roundabout, which I think is not really going to be one of those bends that breaks you too much, because you can see it's sort of slightly diagonal, double bend. And nothing, I think, untoward is going to happen along here. Yes, it's slightly undulating, but it's not climbing in the full sense of the word. It's just a little bit wavy, shall we say, if you look at the profile. And I will say this, that it was a pleasure to ride along the smooth tarmac that they've installed on here. I don't think it'll make any difference to you on an RGT race, West London VR RGT race, because the roads are obviously as smooth as your garage floor, kitchen floor, shed floor, or wherever you do your RGT racing from. But this road for years has been a little bit bumpy, shall we say, if you cycle along it, and it's suddenly become a pleasure. So I think we'll start seeing more cyclists on here, which will probably upset a few of the motorists. I know a lot of people use this as a little cut through to avoid the more built up areas in the vicinity. We are, as I said, in Ickenham. We're heading out towards Harefield effectively, and we're not going to go right into Harefield. We're going to go to South Harefield, which is not quite the same thing, but we shall see. As I say, there's nothing, I think you get a better deal on the descents on this ride than you do on the climbs if you're looking for that sort of thing. And as you can see here, fairly flat. I mean, there's slight rises, but nothing too exciting. As we go under the railway bridge, and despite the fact we've already got a railway there, we now go through the roadworks where they're building a second one. So we'll have two railways coming through here, albeit that the second one will be under a tunnel That's the high-speed rail link between London and Birmingham, HS2 as it's known, which, depending on your viewpoint on these things, you're either totally for or totally against. And certainly a lot of local triathletes will be against it because their local, the pond or lake or whatever it is they swim in for triathlons, especially designated lake, is disappearing to make way for the railway. Not quite sure if the railway is underground, why the lake has to go, but it is what it is, and I don't think they can do much about it now, despite the fact that we do get environmentalists protesting in the area about the development of this railway for one reason or another. So you can see it's slightly undulating, it's going up here, but you're never going to notice this in a peloton on an RGT race, particularly unless you're in front, of course. But I think what will happen is just going up here, the front runner will change all the time. People hit the front, they'll be knocked back, somebody will go in front of them, and people will cope with this. And I think the peloton will stick together along this stretch of road, Breakspear Road here in Ickenham. As we head further north, and we're going to go past the Breakspear Arms, which these days sells curries rather than, I think it still does sell beer, but beer and curry is the name of the game in there. And then we're going to go down the simply wonderful New Year's Green Lane, which sounds idyllic, except it's the road to the rubbish dump, and it has lots of rubbish that's fallen off various vehicles along the way along it. You can see the road was actually closed when I did this, so it was great in one sense because there's no other vehicles on the road, or not many anyway. And on the other hand, though, I did have to go through the roadworks where they'd closed it. Although the guys working there did allow me to go through on my bike, even though the road was closed. It's still a bit of work there with diggers. I'm not sure if that's related to the new railway or not, but there's all sorts of works going on in this area, as you'll see throughout the ride. Now, New Year's Green Lane here, as I say, it has a wonderfully charming name, but unfortunately it just has a few sort of little industrial places, like you can see on the left along it, and as I say, it does culminate, you can see on the right there, lots of works lorries and things, so it's not quite as scenic as it might be, but on the other hand, there's enough hedges to stop it being totally industrial, and there's somebody on the right there actually quite likes the idea of living down here, so it can't be that bad. As I say, it is really punctuated by various sort of commercial sites, shall we say, mainly connected one way or another to the building construction industry. And right at the other end, we do have our municipal rubbish dump where everybody takes all their unwanted rubbish and dumps it. The council take it away somewhere. The downside is that obviously things drop off trucks and things delivering all the waste, and the latter half of this road is, shall we say, not the most charming of roads because it does have that waste on it. But it does have a nice descent here as we go round the bend. This is the descent. I'll say it's nice. It usually is nice. This gentleman kindly informed me that they would let me through the blocked road here, and as we see, we have to squeeze through, but the guy there gives me his permission, so we're fine. This road, as I say, it's a great little descent until a big fat wide vehicle comes up the other direction, because you can see it's not a very wide road. It has a passing place, but you sort of pray to God that your brakes or the passing place will get you around the other vehicle. Now, I was wondering what all the works were along here, because we get to the other end and we haven't seen any works at all. I had to stop and move the gate here because it made it rather more difficult to get through, a bit indecisive as to which one was perhaps the easiest one to manoeuvre. A bit of gate moving, and we're out. Also, we think, because guess what? As soon as we start going up here, a dirty, great big vehicle decided to come the other way. and I don't think I'm going to argue with him, so we go into the passing place. Now, as I say, I wasn't entirely sure what the roadworks were, but you may not have caught it. But in fact, what they'd actually done is built something over and above the road that looked like something to carry workmen over the road, and I really don't understand why. But if you missed what the roadworks were, they were all above our head, and I think we would just stop going down there in case while they were building this contraption, whatever they were doing above our heads, if somebody dropped a spanner, it wouldn't drop on your car or whatever. See, with us with cycle helmets, we don't mind, do we? Anyway, this is the climb out of New Year's Eve Lane. So this might be a climb of note. It's not that hard, but it might be enough just to split off a peloton. So New Year's Green Lane, I think that climb there, you know, if you're going to have a go, we're probably sort of heading for something close to halfway round, maybe a third of the way round. It could be a good place to attack, actually, so bear that one in mind, the dip at New Year's Green Lane. Now you can look at all of this on Ride with GPS, and we do supply links through www.westlondoncycling.com. If you go on the Series 3 menu, you can go down to each race, and there's a little link there to take you to Ride with GPS, and if you click on that, you will find the route and a profile underneath. Just look for New Year's Green Lane on the profile. It will be not quite the most northerly point, but it'll be after Uxbridge, still heading north. Now we're heading north again, albeit though we've taken a little diversion onto this road, and we're just heading up to South Harefield, where we will turn left. So if you are looking at the Ride with GPS thing, trying to work out where New Year's Green Lane was, if you look at the left turn where we head westwards out of South Harefield and go back down southwards, you'll see where New Green Lane comes out and joins this road. This again, it is slightly climbing, but again, it's nothing that's going to really affect a peloton on RGT. If you ride solo here on a windy day, you can feel yourself going up that little slope, but I just don't think it's going to be of note on an RGT West London VR race. So here we are at South Harefield, and we're going to sort of turn left around about in a moment and go along what I consider a very fast road, and there's a nice little dip as you come off the roundabout here. This road, for reasons I never quite understand, always seems to be fast, whichever direction you happen to be riding in. This is the left turn here by the shops. So we get this initial dip, which I think sets you off, and you get good momentum. As I say, this is my real life observation rather than on RGT. So you come down here quite fast, you get some good momentum, and you get a flat stretch. And I think the reason it always feels fast in this direction is actually because the slope just kind of launches you. I think when you're coming in the other direction, it's both flat and you're more likely to have a tailwind. So as it say, it always seems to me that this road is quite a fast road. Whether or not that replicates on RGT, I very much doubt, I have to say. There's one small little bump here, the bridge over the canal. Again, this is not going to show up particularly on the RGT profile, so nothing to think too hard about. But as I say, in real life, it gives you a second sort of launch into a bit of speed racing. So as I say, this will be really flat until just before Denham Green. When there's a slight incline, but I don't think it's going to be enough to upset the peloton in a West London VR RGT race. We're coming up to more works to do with the new railway line and a set of traffic lights just to keep us all entertained, which of course do like to go red just before you arrive at them. So the old video editing comes in once again, and look, hey presto, the lights have gone green. Absolutely marvellous. So here we are again. This is just more works for the new railway line, and as I say, it's destroyed my momentum, but you will fly past there, of course, like a high-speed train. In fact, it probably will be a train if you're all in a peloton, sitting on each other's wheels. So this will be flat for a little while, then we're up to Denham Green, and there is a little bit of a ramp up to the traffic lights there, as we'll see in a moment. but nothing again that's I think going to trouble a peloton. I think your best bet if you're looking for a climb to do some damage will be back at New Year's Lane, which remember is a dip, so look at it in profile. You come down the dip to where those roadworks were and then up towards the rubbish dump. That's I think probably the prime attacking point of the whole course, if there is one. I think it's the only one where you can do some damage. So here we are, we're heading up to Denham Green now, and you'll see the road sort of very gently inclines up towards those traffic lights. We're slightly climbing here, and again it doesn't particularly show. If I hadn't pointed out to you that it was rising, you probably wouldn't have actually noticed from the video pictures, but I can tell you that it is. And we're coming up now towards the shops, Denham Green and the Denham Railway Station, and the other bits and pieces that go to make up Denham Green. I think Denham Green is probably one of those places that built up when they built the railway line and they built a station for Denham here, but Denham Village, the old village, which we'll go through in a minute, it's a very old village and very picturesque, and I think quite often railway lines didn't actually land exactly where the village was, and what happened was that an even bigger village was created around the railway station. So you find that Denham Green is actually miles bigger than Denham because it grew up around the railway station. So very kindly, the lights are going to go green, aren't they? Yes, nice little filter there. I'm not quite sure who, but there's a little cafe on the left there. And some Sundays I do see cyclists meeting up there, so I'm not quite sure who does their rides from Denham Green, but it's, if you do live in the area, you might like to find out, because there's probably a good ride to be had from Denham Green. And here's said railway station just on the left. Now this is the main A412, which is the London North Orbital Road, which in fact it does an orbit of London, so it circles around the northern side of London. The reason it's not busy anymore is they built a motorway that does a whole circle around the outside of London called the M25, and this road before the M25 used to be absolutely bumper to bumper, but of course everything goes on the M25 now, so this road isn't anything like it was back in the whenevers, I would guess the 1970s I think. Anyway, so we find it much more palatable as cyclists than we might have done even back then. So we go a little way along this, and then we're going to turn left into Denham Village, which, as I say, is rather pretty. I don't know whether the camera would give it full justice on this occasion. Hopefully you'll get a flavour, but it is a very, very nice looking village. And more importantly, it has 3 excellent pubs in a very small village, and it is a destination to go for a nice pint, particularly in a summer's evening. So yeah, destination real ale, I would suggest. Although, to be fair, I haven't been in one of those pubs for a while, so I'm not quite sure how good the ales on offer are here in 2021 as I narrate. So here we are. Here's the concealed little entrance to the delight that is Denham Village, over the potholes, and you can see it starts getting a bit more oldie worldy with that old wall, and of course any minute now the more modern village hall, I suppose, just to undo everything I was saying. Very pleasant here. House prices, I'm sure, match the desirability of the place. That's the village hall on the right, which is far more modern than what we're about to see as we go over this little bridge, and we'll be in the glorious Denham Village, oldie worldy and looking rather quaint. Lots of water on the right. I'm sure it floods here very easily, but nevertheless, don't let that put you off. So over the quaint old little bridge into the old village. In fact, the first houses look a bit new actually, don't they? Here we are. That's the first of the pubs on the right. I think the other 2 are both on the left. As we go through this little village, as I say, it is quite charming, and say destination. There's another one of the pubs on the left there. Well, something being repaired there, so the building works slightly denying the full charm as we go through the village and out the other side where the church is. And here we are. Here's the church. So every little village has a nice quaint little church, and you can see that's rather nice building with black and white painting on there. So yeah, charming. There's a house just along here which I firmly believe was built by a Frenchman, designed by a Frenchman, because it just looks to me that it should have been in France. I don't know if we're going to really catch it in its full glory, because I think the way the bend is not going to get the camera angle to give us the best view of it. But I have remarked upon this to a number of other cyclists as we cycle past this, about how this house, and it's on our right now, and I don't think the camera's going to pick it up, unfortunately. Just about, you can see it with the green shutters. I just think it looks so French that you could really shoot a film there and have it set in France, and everybody would believe you, I think. Beautiful house, love it to death. So here we are. This is the less glamorous side of Denham Village. More modern buildings. No, it's not to say they're not nice houses, but they're not oldie worldy charm places. You can see the terrain's still flat. I mean, it's pretty much now flat all the way to the finishing line, except for the fact that the finishing line itself has a very, very short rise. So when you're doing your sprint, you have to sort of factor in that the last, I suppose, 50 metres of the race are gently uphill and not flat. But everything between now and the end of this race is almost going to be deadpan flat as we round what is known as the Denham roundabout and head straight down the old road to Uxbridge. I say the old road, both in context of the A40 was removed, I suppose, from where it used to be into what we now know as the A40, and it's also an old road because the road surface really needs upgrading. I'm not talking about this one, I'm talking about the one into Uxbridge that we'll hit shortly. So this is shortly going to join the Denham roundabout. Stop for the traffic. I don't think I've ever stopped that long there, or maybe I have, but usually you just fly out of that, and I was a bit unlucky because I caught a row of cars that probably just come through the traffic lights further up. Now this is what everybody calls the Denham roundabout. These days it's a series of roundabouts and traffic lights, but it used to be, when it was first built, one big roundabout, and it sort of isn't anymore, but it still retains the name. We go through here and we're lucky enough to fly through there, despite the fact that the massive car boot sale, I don't know if you can just see on your left there all those cars parked in that field. There's a car boot sale takes place at weekends in there, and it is huge. If you come down here about an hour or two earlier, the traffic would have been queuing up for miles. I've never been, but it quite clearly is one of the best car boot sales around because it is huge. It really is huge. So here we go under the beginning of the M40, where it changes into the A40, which is one of the motorways from London to Birmingham, the more southerly of the two routes to Birmingham from London on your motorway. So this is the remnants of what was once a roundabout, but is now a series of roundabouts. We're going to go left here, and this is pretty much straight all the way to the end now. It's straight and flat. So, with a couple of K to go, there is just nothing other than just making sure that you don't have a lax moment and lose concentration and fall off the back. As long as you're in the peloton now, you should be able to maintain it all the way. I suspect probably with 500 metres to go, there's a chance that it'll get ramped up, and a few people who are just hanging on might get dropped. But nevertheless, as a general thing, if you're strong and you're in peloton, you should actually maintain it to the end now. As I say, apart from, you should be able to do this faster than me because I think I was more focused on all the little ruts in the road and not having a bumpy ride than I probably was about riding too fast here. This is, I don't know if this is technically what they call new denim, which is I suppose the third of the denims. I think it might actually technically be new denim, but for all intents and purposes it's Uxbridge that we're going into. So as I say, I'm not sure whether we're in Buckinghamshire or Middlesex here, but one of the two. As I say, they call it new denim, and there's obviously a point where it turns into Uxbridge, but this is Uxbridge over to building. See all glamorous things like a McDonald's, a couple of petrol stations. What more could you want? Smooth road, perhaps? I think so. I'd vote for that. So, as I say, nothing to really report. I mean, you see the taller buildings ahead of us. That's pretty much where we start going into that last 150 metres. That's a little bit, maybe 150 metres when we pass the first big, much taller building. I think this is probably where it turns into Uxbridge. Look, there's a sign. So when we cross this river, I think we come out of Buckinghamshire and into Middlesex. So we're out of New Denham and into Uxbridge. Now this really is a sprint. We're going to go over this little bridge and you will see it dip down to a set of traffic lights. We're going to sort of veer a little bit to our left and then it's uphill. So there's something of a very, very small descent here through these traffic lights, and where that car is ahead of us, we're going to go left into the cycle path, and then that is your sprint home from now. And you can see probably 50 metres of rising road here. So if you are going to do that final sprint, you've got to go uphill, and the finishing line will be right on this uphill. Now this is, as I say, coming up to it, where the bus is where the finishing line is, and that's your lot. And you can see just on the right there, all that artwork on that building that we saw at the start line. So where the car is just there on our left, that's where we started earlier on. And we'll just ride over and park the bike up. And that's it. Good luck in the race. See you on the start line.